Yeah, I just don't. I haven't from day one been into the fact of, you know, talking about private things that went on in the royal family when they were a part of it. And the thing is, it's just their point of view. We haven't had the other point of view. And it's like, don't bring it to the public. Nobody wants to know about it. Every family has problems. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
And I just think that from day one, they've handled it very badly. And you know what? They wanted their freedom. They have it. But they want more than just their freedom. They want to be two very important people politically.
Yeah, but they want the royal...
Okay.
Take it easy. But I think if they keep poking their nose into American and political affairs and the Constitution and so on, it's not going to end well. I can tell them that. I want to talk to you also about...
It's like he's only... I was just going to say, he's only been here 2 minutes and he wants to run the country. It's like, oh, hold on.
It's completely absurd. Talking about Dave Chappelle. So Dave Chappelle, I don't know if you've been following this, but he did this big Netflix special. He told some trans jokes. You know, some people thought it was funny, including trans people. Other people, including other...
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Trans people hated it, wanted him cancelled. Netflix stood by him. But he was due to play in a gig in Minneapolis yesterday, and they cancelled it, the organisers, at the last minute, and issued this ridiculous, pompous statement about how, you know, they hadn't been aware that it wouldn't be a safe space for employees and so on. What do you make of it? It comes at a time when John Cleese actually has come out with an interesting comment about the threat to comedy at the moment from this cancel culture. Here's what John Cleese had to say.
A lot of comedians now are sitting there, and when they think of something, they start thinking, could I get away with that? I don't think so. So-and-so got into trouble when he said that, or she said that. You see what I mean? And that's the death of creativity.
And I think he's... Look, I'm not a big fan of John Cleese, to be honest, these days. He's a bit of a miserable old bore, and he can't stand me, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, I love him.
I think
Wait for it.
Love him.
Well, we'll agree to disagree about him. I'll probably get on fine with him, actually. If you're watching, John, come and do an interview. But here's the statement that really made me puke. The Dave Chappelle show tonight at First Avenue has been cancelled. To staff, artists in our community, we hear you. We are sorry. We know we must hold ourselves to the highest standards. We let you down. We're not just a blank box with people in it. We understand First Avenue is not just a room, but meaningful beyond our walls. The team and you have worked hard to make our venues the safest spaces in the country.
Stop it.
And we'll continue with that mission. We believe in diverse voices and the freedom of artistic expression, but in honouring that, we lost sight of the impacts it would have. I mean, what a load of old guff. Right? What they really mean is,
it's just...
we are going to decide what you're allowed to find funny. That's it.
It's ridiculous. It's, again, a case of freedom of speech. This man is a brilliant writer, a brilliant comic, and when you watch him, he just doesn't tell silly jokes one after the other to try and offend. It always goes along with a story, and there's always the beginning, middle, and end, and it always comes around to, well, what do you think about it? This is what I think, and he...
Wait for it.
...does it superbly.
The point is,
funny.
he's not
Listen,
transphobic.
If we can't...
He's not transphobic, but he thinks you should be able to tell...
Not.
You should be able to tell jokes about trans people, like we tell jokes about everybody. And actually, they're funny as jokes.
Of course.
Here it comes.
And the thing is, if there are many trans people that he offends, it's very, very simple. Don't watch.
Yes.
Turn it off. Go and watch something else.
Fact.
But there are also millions of people that love him, that do want to watch him. I'm one of them. I think he's a genius.
Oh, no question.
But the thing is, it's like, it's simple. Why do people make such a big deal about, you know what he does, you know what he's famous for, don't watch it. Simple.
I think if we can't tell inappropriate jokes anymore, you and I are going to have to go and live on a desert island somewhere with Ozzy.
Oh, God, we might as well live in bloody Russia. I mean, if you can't laugh, right? You've got to laugh, you know. You've got to have irony. You've got to laugh. With the state of the world right now, if you can't go out or watch something at home that's funny, what are we going to do?
Do you know what I read the other day? Was that there's lots of WhatsApp groups now that everybody's on where inappropriate jokes are told because it's in secret. And I thought, how incredible, what a damning indictment of our society. In a way, it is a bit like Russia or North Korea or China, where people feel they have to go underground to crack a joke in case somebody's upset and you end up losing your job or your livelihood.
Exactly. I mean, all the time people send me things and I'm like, where the
Wait for it.
hell did you find that? You know, and some of them are funny, some of them aren't, but it's like, who the hell is making all this stuff? But some of it is very funny.
Sharon, fantastic.
And, you know, it's humour.
Of course it's humour.
Go on.
Sharon, great to talk to you. Send Ozzy my best. Tell him I'm sorry he bottled it, but as soon as he grows a pair, get on this show and be uncensored for me. He owes me one, all right?
He owes you big time, and I'm going to tell him he's got to...
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
Come on and do a river dance for you.
Yes, he has. I look forward to seeing him very soon. Sharon, great to talk to you. I'm so glad the old man's back on his feet. I know how worried you've been as a family. He is indomitable. He's indestructible. And
oh, my God!
Unfortunately, he's not on the show. But we will see him soon. Sharon, great to see you.
All right.
All the best.
Loves you.
He sounded like Stewie from Family Guy. Wasn't it obvious?
Stop it.
You shouldn't have done it, Harold. So we're just stating the obvious now? He said a few more things that were immensely unhelpful, and I walked out. I think Harry's, he's like 40 years old today. He actually thought it was a good idea to put this into the book because it's supposed to make us understand how traumatizing his life was because he shaved off his own head and to make his mates laugh. And then when his brother laughed, it was a trauma because his brother was supposed to hold him and say, it's okay that you did this stupid thing. It's now somehow William's fault for not doing that. This is how this book goes on and on and on. Whatever Harry does, it's somebody else's fault, right? Harry can make no mistakes. Remember, notoriously, he says that he wore the Nazi costume to a party, but also that Will and Kate laughed at it. So he wants to share the blame in something that was so clearly his own decision making. But this is, I guess, we're supposed to feel sad for him.
Stop it.
So he goes on, talks about his cocaine use, and he talks about how the press had somehow, the tabloids, had gotten hold of a photo of him snorting cocaine. Now, Harry and I have some friends in common in the UK. It is well known that Harry was a drug addict. He was very into cocaine and very into partying and very into the lifestyle, and his mates held him up and through it. But now, of course, now he's married to Meghan, he can't be bothered to remember his mates, and now I'm sure he assumes that him ever getting involved in cocaine in the first place,
so that was a lie,
is the fault of his mates, nothing to do with him. So he talks about how they get a hold of this picture, and would you believe it? The palace worked to get this buried, right? So the palace, he knows when he has a problem, the palace works
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
to protect his image, something that he's astonished that took place once him and Meghan got married. How could they do this? How could they be conspiring with the press to make them look good? This is literally their job, right?
Are you serious?
In the press department. He goes on to describe his cocaine usage, saying, of course, I had been doing cocaine around this time at someone's country house during a shooting weekend. I'd been offered a line, and I'd done a few more since. It wasn't much fun. And it didn't make me particularly happy, as it seemed to make everyone around me, but it did make me feel different, and that was the main goal. Feel different. I was a deeply unhappy 17-year-old boy.
So that was a lie.
Willing to try almost anything that would alter the status quo. That was what I told myself anyway. Back then, I could lie to myself as effortlessly as I'd lied to the courtier. But now, I realized coke hadn't been worth the candle.
Wait for it.
The risk far outweighed the reward. Threatened with exposure, faced with the prospect of fouling up Granny's golden jubilee, walking a knife's edge with the mad press, nothing was worth any of that.
Are you serious?
On the bright side, I had played the game well. So it's just him talking about his cocaine usage, but still somehow making himself the victim of it because he needed to do this to feel different, and it didn't make him happy. And this is back when he's 17 years old.
Here it comes.
He doesn't then tell you that he then kept this up right up until, he met Meghan Markle. And even though he talks to us about the fact that he did joints, he's taken ayahuasca, Harry, this isn't a clean guy. But he wants to go back to the first time he started using it to explain to you that it didn't make him happy, even though he kept up doing it for years and years and years beyond that, because the idea is that no matter what Harry does, remember, it's not his own fault because there is something underlying that is hurting him, namely his brother.
Okay.
And his need to feel different. So there you go. Now, when he gets into his wife, there's just something I need to say. I guess I should ask, how many times
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
can somebody break down crying? You guys are married. Maybe you're married to somebody that's emotional. How many times would you say it's normal for somebody to completely burst into tears and to sob onto the floor?
Very good question.
Over every little incident that's happening? He actually recounts a bridesmaid dress issue, which I'm sure you guys have read about in the press, that played out between Kate and Meghan. And I'll summarize it for you before we read him. He tells us exactly the text chain, alleges at least, that this is the text chain that took place. Apparently, Kate had reached out to Meghan about Charlotte's bridesmaid dress. What is Charlotte? 7 years old, I think. About 7 years old. It did not fit Charlotte. And Meghan was not responsive. He admits this. Meg didn't reply to Kate straight away. Yes, she had endless wedding-related texts, but mostly she was dealing with the chaos surrounding her father.
Are you serious?
So the next morning, she texted Kate that our tailor was standing by at the palace. His name was AJ. This wasn't sufficient. They set up a time to speak that afternoon. Okay, so Kate has obviously responsibly reached out to her. It's a couple of days before the wedding. He says it's 4 days before the wedding. And Meghan decides not to respond at all. Then the next day, Meghan texts Kate and says, bring Charlotte by to the tailor. And Kate says no for some reason. He just says it wasn't sufficient.
Stop it.
I don't know, maybe because you texted her on the day of and said show up and go to the tailor. Maybe Charlotte had other things going on. We don't know because he doesn't tell us that part. He just says it was not sufficient. Charlotte's dress is too big, too long, too baggy. She cried when she tried it on at home, Kate said. That makes sense. I'd like to remind you, Charlotte is 7, right? Little girls that are 7 years old cry over all sorts of things. And if they put on a dress and they don't feel very pretty,
Here it comes.
they might break down crying. This is normal behavior for a 7-year-old. Meghan replies, right. And I told you the tailor has been standing by since 8 a.m. Same day text. Get Charlotte to this tailor immediately.
Are you serious?
Here at Kensington Palace, can you take Charlotte to have it altered as all the other moms are doing? ? Kate replies, no, the dresses need to be remade.